All right, but before I get into that, just so you know, all you Buffalo entry people, here's your Buffalo Nickels, all carded up, ready to go. Don't forget now, um, February 10th is the drawing date, and if you want to be in it, you got to leave a comment of why you want this coin. Okay, how's that sound? Why you should have it and not anybody else. Okay, down in the comments. Thank you. Okay, first up, 1912 Barber dime that we found at the Bartlett property. Here's the backside. I don't know how well you can see this, but we'll see at the end. In 1912. Okay, here's that Barber again. Turns out it's an S. So I don't know if that's more valuable or what, but San Francisco Mint. Okay, in 1912, let's see. The 28th president of the U.S. is Woodrow Wilson. No, it's William F. Taft. 1909 to 1913. In 1912, Arizona, Alaska, and New Mexico were admitted to the United States as states. And the U.S. Titanic sinks. Oh well. Bad year for them folks. The United States leave Cuba for the first time since the beginning of the Spanish-American War. In April, Admiral Robert E. Peary, a Pennsylvania native, accompanied by 4 Eskimos and a black man, arrives at the North Pole on their 6th attempt, establishing Camp Jessup. He had set sail for the pole earlier, nearly 1 year earlier, in 1908. In May of 1909, the National Conference of the Negro is conducted, leading to the formation of the NAACP. And June 1st, the Alaskan Yukon Pacific Exposition opens in Seattle, Washington. Attendance of 3,740,000, including free visitors. They witnessed the first fair held on 250 acres, including land of the present-day Washington University. And let's see, what else? President William Howard Taft continues the redesignation of national monuments, begun during the Roosevelt administration, with the proclamation of the Oregon Caves National Monument in southwest Oregon. And on July 31st, he continued with the designations in the southwestern Utah lands known as Muku Undu Tweeplop, or something like that. And that would become 10 years later Zion National Park. That's interesting. And here's my second coin. This is another Liberty nickel, also from the Bartlett property. It's a 1910 Liberty nickel, or V nickel if you like. See that? Who knows? What's going on in 1910? Let me see. Oh, the Boy Scouts of America is founded. And the census of 1910 counted the United States population at 92,228,496. This is a 21% increase since the last census was the same rate of increase that had occurred during the previous decade. The center of the United States population was now within the city confines of Bloomington, Indiana. Well, that's something. On May 11, 1910, the start of American domestic tourism occurs with the establishment of Glacier National Park in Montana. Spurred by the development of the Great Northern Railroad, this park helped begin the See America First campaign to encourage United States tourists before and during World War II to visit the western states and territories. May 16th, the United States Bureau of Mines is authorized by an act of the United States Congress. And the only flight taken together by Wilbur and Orville Wright occurs at Huffman Prairie Flying Field in Dayton, Ohio. Later that same year, on November 7th, the first flight to carry freight would depart from the Huffman and deliver its cargo to Columbus, Ohio. It's interesting. Next up, 1911. V. Nickles. And what went on in 1911? Well, let's see. The San Francisco harbor, Eugene B. Ely lands his plane on the deck of the USS Pennsylvania for the first landing of a plane on a ship. May 15th. Standard Oil is declared an unreasonable monopoly by the United States Supreme Court and ordered dissolved under the powers of the Sherman Antitrust Act. Okay, May 30th. The Indianapolis 500 auto race is run for the first time in Indianapolis, Indiana. The race is won by Ray Harron in the Marmon Wasp. August 8th. A law establishing the number of United States representatives at 435 is passed. It would go into effect in 1913 after the 1912 elections. And let's see, technology moves forward. The first transcontinental airline flight was begun in New York by C.P. Rogers. It would complete its journey to Pasadena, California, after numerous stops and 82 hours and 4 minutes in the air, on November 5th. On October 10th, Henry Ford patents the automotive transmission. Patented number, you don't need the number. Well, that takes care of the Bartlett property coins I picked up the other day. That was pretty interesting, I think. Now we go on to the dentist office in Smithville, where we've been to before. And I did all right there, too. Before I get into that, I found that quarter that I lost. It's a 1877 seated. Pretty toasty, but you can still read everything and the details are good. The backside's almost worn smooth, though, as you can see. Alright, I lost that someplace and found it again yesterday. Right, the first coin I picked up there was this lovely one. Nice seated dime. Let's see, 1889 seated dime. Can you see that? It's actually in very good shape. There's the backside. Alrighty then. So what was going on in 1889? Let's find out. In 1889, legislation signed by President Grover Cleveland sets aside the first public lands, protecting prehistoric features at the Casa Grande ruin in Arizona Territory. These lands could never be settled or sold. President Benjamin Harrison opens up Oklahoma lands to white settlement beginning on April 22nd, when the first of 5 land runs in the Oklahoma land rush start. More than 50,000 people waited at the starting line to race for 160-acre parcels. It's a nice big piece of property. Let's see. The deadliest flood in American history occurs at Johnstown, Pennsylvania, when 2,200 people perish from the water of the South Fork Dam after heavy rains caused its destruction. That was bad. Let's see. Running between Willamette Falls and Portland, Oregon, a distance of 14 miles, the first long-distance electric-powered transmission line in the United States is completed. And the first issue of the Wall Street Journal is published. Next up from the dentist property is a 1938 Jefferson nickel. In pretty nice shape. Okay, what was going on in 1938? Let's see. The national minimum wage is signed into law in the federal legislation known as the Fair Labor Standards Act. It was established at a minimum wage of 25 cents an hour at the time, as well as time and a half for overtime and the prohibition of most employment for minors. not miners, miners. Let's see, the first reunion of the Blue and Gray is held. It commemorated the 75th anniversary of the Battle of Gettysburg in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Let's see, this is interesting. Wrong way Douglas Corrigan, with his faulty compass, lands his plane in Dublin, Ireland, after departing from Brooklyn, New York on a trip to the west coast of the United States. You might say that was quite a bit off track, if you ask me. And let's see, the 1938 was when they had Orson Welles broadcasted his War of the Worlds, the radio drama, which included fake news bulletins stating that a Martian invasion had begun on Earth. Man, we were gullible, boy oh boy. Not that it's any different. War nickel, because it's 40% silver. This was also at the dentist office in Smithville. And in 1944, let's see, Normandy invasion, D-Day, occurs when 150,000 Allied troops, including American forces, and those of over 11 other Allied nations. That would be Alaska, Belgium, Canada, Czechoslovakia, France, Greece, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Poland, and the United Kingdom. They all land in France, and the Allied soldiers storm the beaches of France to begin the World War II invasion of Europe that would lead to the liberation of Paris. Operation Overlord gained footing quickly, pushing through the Atlantic Wall in the largest amphibious military operation in history. That's something. And let's see, in 1944, the GI Bill of Rights is signed into law, providing benefits to veterans. Right? The greatest continental U.S. tragedy of World War II occurs when two ships loading ammunition at Port Chicago Naval Weapons Station in California explodes. The accident killed 320 people. July 21st. The United States military begins to retake the island of Guam after Japanese troops had occupied the island during World War II. The battle would end on August 10th. Let's see. November 6, 1944, the last campaign speech of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, seeking his fourth term in office, is broadcast from his Hyde Park, New York home. One day later, Roosevelt would gain that fourth term by a significant but smaller margin than any of his previous elections, especially in the popular vote, where Dewey lost by only 3 million votes. The Electoral College margin, however, was at 432 to 99, and it ensured that Roosevelt good footing in prosecution of the World War II. The United States Supreme Court rules that the case of Komatsu versus the United States, a wartime internment of Japanese Americans on the West Coast, was valid during a time of war. I'll show you this one here. That is a 2017 dime, 27p dime. Brilliant uncirculated condition, because it just came from the bank, brand spanking new. I'll hang on to that for 100 years and it'll be worth something. Maybe. Well, that's it for the coins for today. Don't forget, make a comment down below why you should get that buffalo nickel and not somebody else. Come on, originality is everything. Please, comments. I like comments. I answer every single one. So, for today, going into tomorrow, here's looking.